We are Black American members of the National Academy of Medicine,
the premier health science organization in our nation.
We are scientists,
physicians,
healthcare professionals,
and public health experts.
We are also sisters,
mothers, wives, and daughters.
We are brothers,
fathers, husbands, and sons.
We are your neighbor. The person in line at the grocery store checkout. The person sitting next to you in church. We are members of the Black community.
Many of us have fought our way into healthcare professions specifically to care for our community.
Many of us have devoted our careers to exposing racism in healthcare.
All of us have focused our careers on improving health for all.
That is why we support the COVID-19 vaccine, and we encourage you to get vaccinated.
Trust in government does not come easily for our community. Too often our health has been ignored and even abused.
It is not surprising that polls show that many Black Americans are hesitant to get vaccinated.
We understand why.
But COVID-19 is very serious.
And it has a devastating impact on our community.
We have come through so much over the years.
Now we are facing another life-threatening challenge.
We must do what we have always done.
We must choose to do what is necessary for our community's survival.
As health professionals, we understand the science.
As members of the Black community, we understand your distrust.
We have reviewed the research.
Some of us have participated in developing the vaccines, designing the studies, and monitoring the results.
And we are confident the research was done correctly.
Many of us have already received the vaccine.
The rest of us will get it when our turn comes.
We encourage you to claim your place in line to get vaccinated.
Do it for yourselves.
Do it for your loved ones.
Do it for our community.
Do it because we should not tolerate one more preventable death.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Brought to you by SCDHEC. Visit scdhec.gov for testing and vaccination sites. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In it together, SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council presenting Wellness Wednesday every week on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Agape Counseling and Training Services. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, visit Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. The Comet Bus System, offering free rides to get your COVID vaccine. Don't miss your shot. Visit catchthecomet.gov. Javis Financial Services, with over 20 years of experience. Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Honest, professional, reliable computer sales and service. Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID from SCDHEC. In it together, SC, the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Comet Bus System, Javis Financial Services, Computers Unique, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
It's Faith Friday on Coping with COVID. Good afternoon. I'm Tre Tailor. That means it's time to inspire, motivate, and encourage you with a great story. Today, we're certainly going to do that. I'm going to share a conversation with you that I had with the Allyene Brothers, labeled as disabled with learning disabilities. The pair defied the odds and used faith, perseverance, and hard work to become leaders, both of them in the medical profession. We'll hear their story next on Coping with COVID, but first, your COVID community update. Prince Philip has passed away. The 99-year-old husband of Queen Elizabeth, Queen of England, has been hospitalized several times in the last months, and according to Buckingham Palace, died peacefully this morning. Prince Philip had requested a no-fuss funeral and is expected to have a full military service that will not include any public events due to COVID. South Carolina is one step closer to having a hate crime bill. After years of failed attempts, the House passed the bill that would increase penalties, including more prison time and fines for those convicted of a violent crime based on the victim's race, color, religion, sexual orientation, disability, sex, gender, or national origin. The bill, sponsored by Wendell Gilliard, is named after slain Senator Pastor Clementa Pinckney, one of the victims of the 2015 Mother Emanuel church shooting. Meanwhile, Representative Vic Dabney's opposition of the bill has some lawmakers calling for his resignation. The Camden lawmaker is one of 28 Republicans who voted against the bill. His social media post is coming under fire for mentioning his whiteness, stereotyping the African American community, and saying nothing more can be done for the civil rights movement. Finally, legendary rapper DMX has died. The 50-year-old had been hospitalized this week after suffering a reported drug-induced heart attack. Reports say he was without oxygen for about a half an hour before being taken to a New York hospital where he was on a ventilator with no brain activity and lung failure. DMX was also diagnosed with COVID after being admitted to the hospital. The rapper, who was born Earl Simmons in December of 1970, had an illustrious career, including 5 #1 albums, 3 Grammys, and several movie credits. Rapper DMX died at the age of 50. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Visit scdhec.gov for times, dates, and locations for COVID tests, vaccinations, and flu shots, scdhec.gov. Also, gogettested.com has appointments, locations, and results in 48 hours. The DHEC Care Line is also up and running. You can get information on testing, vaccinations, organizing a COVID screening at your event or in your neighborhood, and transportation to get a test. Now, speaking of transportation, Richland and Clarendon County paramedics are offering in-person COVID screening. If you want more information about that, call 911. COVID vaccinations are being done at Lexington Medical Center, and Lexington Medical Center has also transferred several of their locations into walk-ins, including the one at Lexington Medical Center and also the one at Brooklyn Baptist Church. You can see the screen for more information on COVID walk-in clinics, and also all of that information will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Now, if you are a veteran, the VA is taking care of COVID vaccinations for all vets. Contact the VA for more information about getting your COVID vaccination. Kroger pharmacies are also offering the COVID vaccination statewide. Check the screen for details on the Kroger nearest you. And CVS is also doing COVID vaccinations, and also the CVS locations within Target stores. Again, that information is on the screen. Benedict College has a vaccination clinic. If you remember, we talked to those folks last week. That vaccination clinic is open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Now, if you or someone you know is a senior citizen and having some challenges registering for the COVID vaccination, they can visit Get Set Up. Call that number, and while they won't make your appointment for you, they certainly will help you navigate the internet so that you can make that appointment. Again, the information is right there, and you can also see it throughout the show scrolling at the bottom of the screen. It's Get Set Up. We talked to the folks from the Comet bus system yesterday, and we've been telling you too, you don't miss your shot. You can catch the Comet to get your vaccination. Again, you can call or visit the Comet's website for information on how you can get a free ride to get your COVID vaccination. And the folks with the Comet also told us that beginning next week, they're going to offer the COVID vaccination at the main location of the Comet bus system on Laurel Street in Columbia, South Carolina. Now, Richland County Rental Assistance Program, which also provides for bill assistance, that program opened on Monday. Visit richlandcountysc.gov for more information on placing your application so that you can get the rental assistance you need. They actually give you up to 12 months of rental assistance and then an additional 3 months to get you on your feet. That's rental and bill assistance. The NAACP also has a housing assistance program. Landlords, mortgage companies, and tenants can get information. And the South Carolina Bar Association and SC Legal Services have a toll-free number and website that they also have for rental and mortgage help. The City of Columbia 6-month payment plan is still going on. They can give you that for water bills. They also have payment assistance up to 75%. If you're having some challenges working or schooling from home, check out Rashonda Pratt's YouTube channel, subscribe to her YouTube channel, and get the information and the tips that you need.
Affordable Care Act open enrollment has been extended August 15th. Now you've got till August 15th to get your health care. And if you already have health care, you may be able to qualify for even more tax credits. Make sure that you get that information. You go back on to either signupsc.org or healthcare.gov for more information. The Urban League Young Professionals are having a voter registration drive Saturday. Stop by there if you or someone you know wants to get registered to vote. And the Black Lives Matter Scholarship Fund is still taking applications for those $1,000 forgivable grants. They're looking for specifically single parents and guardians, those formerly incarcerated, and the transgender community. You can see that information right there, blmsurvivalfund.com. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Hey, don't forget the TailorMade production page is the home for Coping with COVID. Would you please go over there and hit like and follow and share? We would love for you to do that because we really want you to get the information that you want and that you need. Don't forget also, we have a presence on YouTube. And so please hit the subscribe button if you, and say hi to all of you YouTubers, also on Instagram and on Twitter. We've got a couple of things that we're giving away that I want to tell you about. The Dash for Good Health Southern Style Cookbook. We've been giving this away about a week, and we still have thousands more books to give away. This is such a great cookbook. These are recipes that you would normally make, and they just have a healthy twist. If you want it, you can get this along with a Coping with COVID mask. All you have to do is put your email in the chat, and we will contact you and get your mailing address and make sure you get it. Also, Black Man in a White Coat. If you missed this interview with Dr. Damon Tweedy, you want to check out last week's Wellness Wednesday, a doctor's reflection on race and medicine. He not only talked about how as Black and brown folks are discriminated against in the healthcare system, but as an African-American healthcare professional himself, the challenges that he went through. He was on Coping with COVID, Wellness Wednesday, last Wednesday, and he's going to be speaking at the South Carolina Chronic Disease Symposium, courtesy of SCDHEC. All you have to do is register for the symposium, and you will get a complimentary copy of the book. Now, of course, on the graphic, it says today is the last day, but I do know that they are going to extend that out for a couple of more weeks. So please, make sure you register for the South Carolina Chronic Disease Symposium and get a copy of the book, Black Man in a White Coat. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I want to say hi to Juanita Villani. She says the story on Dwight and Dwayne, Allyene, are coming up, and that's right. Juanita, it's coming up right now. I had such a fascinating conversation with these twin brothers. And I tell you, it is a Faith Friday story that you will want to check out. If you've ever been counted out, if you've ever been told that you couldn't do something or discriminated against because you were different, the story about these two brothers' journey is absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad to share it with you right now on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. We're talking about a story of faith, a story of two brothers, twin brothers, Dwight and Dwayne Allen. And they have such a fascinating story about how they were counted out as kids, but then because of their faith and their perseverance, they are shining now like the bright stars that they are. Dwight is on the top. Dwayne is on the bottom. They're twins, as you can see. Thank you guys so much for joining us today on Coping with COVID. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
I am so excited about sharing your story because, and shout out to, Glenn Mitchell for, Jen Mitchell for bringing your story to us, because you guys were basically, you were born obviously as twins, but then people, I don't know, was it your family or was it others who thought that you were special needs or were not developing as you would or as you should?
It was school officials, teachers, guidance counselors. They thought we weren't performing at our level, just primarily due to our speech impediment. So they use that as a gauge for our intelligence and ability to progress in life.
So let me ask you this. When did you first realize that you guys had a speech impediment, which I don't hear? I guess you don't have it anymore.
Well, per my mother, we had it since we were little, and we couldn't talk in full sentences until we were 5 years old.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. So even then, and I don't know if you remember back at 5 years old, I can't remember 5 years ago, more or less, but do you remember, Dwight, feeling different at that time?
I do remember feeling different. The main thing that made me feel different is because we used to be pulled out of the classes for speech therapy. A lot of times it would be during special events, like if we were going to watch a movie or anything like that. So I'd feel kind of isolated or just sometimes embarrassed being taken out and everyone knowing that we were going to speech therapy. So I remember that, and specifically in elementary school.
How did your family approach the speech impediment? Did your parents, your mom, your siblings or your family, did they ever say anything to you about it?
I can say my sister in particular, she would try to correct us or even help us or aid us, because we had these exercises that we had to do, especially when we had to pronounce R words. So we would do these exercises and my sister would make sure that she would help us at home to do these exercises. So if we say a word incorrectly, she'll stop us and have us practice saying certain words to help, facilitate our progress.
But nothing, but in a helpful way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So your family was supportive of what the schools deemed as your disability, but your family just felt like, they need some extra help. That's great.
Yes, yes.
So there was an additional challenge, because while you guys were learning how to talk correctly, you all were kind of developing your own language between the two of you.
So, yes, that was a funny story. And that's primary reason why we had speech impediment, because we refused to learn the language, because we always talk to each other. And one of the things that we did is we had encyclopedias. We always, we were fascinated with encyclopedias for some reason. Anytime they would come in the mail, we'd be excited. So we would look through, how encyclopedias are listed from A through Z. So we'll sit together and look through each letter and make up sounds. One of the sounds I remember is F was F, and then T was bang bang. So we would just kind of create our own alphabet. This based on the encyclopedias. That's what we did.
And to me, that to me is a high level of learning. I mean, you looked at what everybody else saw as, in the JESUS, but then you created your own language. But then nobody but the two of you communicated that way, right?
Yeah. Basically, it's a way that we kind of felt special within ourselves, just communicating with each other, our parents understood us, but obviously others outside of the family saw us as severe speech impediment at that point.
That's so interesting. So do you remember even then why you even, I know you said, Dwayne, you created that language so you guys could communicate with each other, with your special language, but why was that even important as twins?
I think we had a bond, and since we always hung out with each other, we just had a special bond. We'd even call each other by our names. We call each other Latla. So my mother, that drove my mother crazy. She didn't support that.
Latla. What is that?
Latla.
Oh,
We said Latla. So anytime we'll call each other out down the hallway, say "lot la," and he'll say, Dwight will say "lot la," and my mother say, "Your name is Dwayne. Your name is Dwight. Call each other by your name. Don't say, your name is not lot la."
Do you call each other lot la now?
No, no.
That's long forgotten. That's buried in history now.
Yeah. So because of that, that really delayed your speech because you guys were speaking your own little language.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it definitely delayed the speech and sounds, and also affected how we communicated, with other people.
Yeah. Because that was the other issue as well, because not only the fact that we made our own language, that we wouldn't communicate with others because we only felt the connection, especially through language, with each other instead of others outside of the family.
Yeah. What about friends? Were you able to make other friends outside of the two of you?
Yeah, we had very few friends. I think we had one main friend named Michael. and I don't think and some friends from church, but we didn't really hang out with them unless we went to church. So most of our friends, like our school friends, were very small amount, especially in the earlier school days. But we usually hung out with a couple of people outside of the household, very few.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so tell me about what happened at school after you went through speech therapy. Were you getting support from your teachers? Or were they? Because a lot of times kids that are different are not always understood.
Yeah, I think I felt that we were getting support because we were still able to produce good grades. And we were able to show that we had comprehensive skills. In a lot of the classes, up until it required us to show communication, that's where we had the major issues, since most of the earlier school years, like elementary, or just involved us, writing paper, writing things down, or, testing. We were able to demonstrate those learning abilities, so it would definitely show that we definitely had normal or above average learning ability. It's just when it came to the speech, that's the only issue. When we had to communicate, that's where it was an issue.
Yeah. That's it. Go ahead, Dwayne.
So for the most part, teachers did support me. I know they limited my reading. When I had to read out loud, they would limit it. Some didn't care, made me read regardless. And that's when it was the most embarrassing, when I had to read out loud and the kids will anticipate, "Oh, I want to hear you read this book." Especially the book that I'll never forget until I die is the book called The Birdman. And I used to hate to read that book because I have to say The Birdman. And the children, the classmates would say, "Yeah, let Dwayne read it. I want to hear him say the title of the book." And as soon as I say it, the whole class will laugh. When I say Birdman, I say Budman. And they would couldn't wait for me to say that word so they can laugh at me. And the teachers would usually kind of interject, but it wouldn't be as aggressive as I would like.
Wow.
But I kind of dealt with it.
Yeah. We're talking to Dwight and Dwayne Allen. They're twins, as you can see, and this is Faith Friday, and they're telling us about their journey from being deemed or labeled as special needs kids to how that affected them through life, and how they really changed everything in their lives and proved everybody wrong by really excelling. Both of them are physicians now when they grew up. And so Dwayne, you said something that I thought was interesting. You said you didn't think that sometimes the teachers were as aggressive as they should have been in shutting down the ridicule, because I think we all know kids can be cruel. And when you're a kid and don't realize, or don't have the courage to say bump you, it hurts, because you want to be accepted and liked,
Yeah, some of them I felt they could have said, "Hey, stop it," or realize was the kids would lead off and say, "I want him to read that book, Birdman." And she could have said, "No, no, we'll have somebody
Right.
read it," but they said, "No, go ahead and read the book." And they didn't really come and comfort me after the fact that I was being made fun
Wow.
of. They just kind of sat and left me there, and I just kind of sat there and dealt with it and and had to deal with it. So that's what I meant when I said they weren't really aggressive in stopping that, because they would laugh at me and not really. They'll say little stuff, but they wouldn't come to me afterward to say it's okay. You are a better person. You're a good person. You're very
Right.
intelligent, or encourage me despite that happening to me.
How did you learn to deal with it? How did you learn to deal with the abandonment and the ridicule and all of the problems that came with, from this ridicule?
It's hard to pinpoint exact time because I was dealing with it all my life. So I think I dealt with it in a negative way by shutting down and by not socially interacting with people. So that's how I dealt with it.
Yeah.
So I didn't deal with it. It wasn't a productive way or a good way. We just shut down and became very shy and withdrawn. So that's how I dealt with it. I just try to avoid people as much as possible. Only talked to a few friends that responded to me, but I avoided being in crowded spaces or any places where I would have to talk. So that's how I dealt with it. So it wasn't a good way to do it, but that's the best way I could have dealt with it and under the current circumstances.
Dwight, did you have similar experiences in school? Because you guys were not placed in the same classes, right?
No, we were separated. They kept us separated because they know that we weren't talking. We were we were never communicating with people. We would avoid social interaction. So they said it's best to separate you guys, and they made sure we stayed apart in every aspect. So we didn't have the same gym class. We didn't have the same class. So they kept us away from each other to make sure.
So Dwight, did you have similar experiences in school?
So it was similar because when we had to read out loud, it would get made fun of as well. And the teachers, I kind of felt the teachers weren't as assertive as they needed to be with the kids. They just said, just a simple calm down, or just, all right. They kind of kept it simple, but they didn't do anything that kind of felt. I don't have any memory of the teacher saying, "Oh yeah, that teacher definitely reached out and cared for us." I didn't have that memory. It was just
were you all able to, because again, you weren't able to, you couldn't be in the same class, but were you all able to console each other?
I think we just kind of just being together, we were consoling because we continue to, confide in one another, and so I think that was enough in a sense. But I don't think we were specifically. I think we kind of addressed the issue individually, but we just were satisfied that we had each other to go through. I think it would have been harder if it was just us being whether we were siblings much older or separated, by grade. The fact that we were together was helpful, but I think if we were the only child going through it, that would have been definitely challenging.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, were there any conversations that you guys had growing up as young guys, as elementary school, even middle school, where you maybe strategized or talked to each other about what you were going through and how to handle it?
Not really. We didn't really talk about it until well past until our young adult years. We didn't really have or openly discuss a strategy. Occasionally we'll discuss our frustrations with having to go to speech or being embarrassed or kids making fun of us. But for the most part, we didn't strategize or say, "Oh, this is how we're going to handle it." We didn't really do that much.
Well, fast forward to middle school and high school, where peer pressure is even greater. and you know, you want to participate in sports and talk to girls and stuff like that. How was the experience then, and how was the speech impediment by then? Was it better?
I say by high school is better, but the problem that stayed with us is the social interactions. The stigma of it stayed with us, so we weren't socially active or talkative. Yeah.
Right. And that's because you kind of isolated yourself to deal with it. So
Yes.
now you don't have the social skills, you know, that maybe someone your age or, you know, someone who didn't have those challenges would have. Is that correct?
Yes. So we kind of stayed the same, like talked to very few friends. We still were separated, so we didn't have any classes together. So it kind of forced me to talk to other people. So I did have a couple more friends that we knew together, but we still was very socially active and socially awkward to interact with anybody, or we weren't like didn't go out a lot. So it was kind of different, but so it was kind of strange or interesting high school days that we had.
Yeah. Dwight, what are your memories of those times?
So my memory is that I think most of the challenges with the speech impediment were during the elementary, middle school, because we stopped going to speech therapy after then. So it definitely was improving, but the impact was still present because we were still socially awkward because we were afraid of being made fun of because of the, I guess it was called PTSD, the post-traumatic stress from being made fun. So we didn't have a lot of, you know, friends, or we didn't go into a lot of groups. We mostly hung with each other, but it became more challenging because we became separate classes. So we couldn't really depend on each other as much.
Yeah. Dwayne and Dwight Allen join us today on Faith Friday. It's a story of motivation, inspiration, and encouragement. And we're talking to these twin brothers about how they overcame their social awkwardness and what, you know, many perceived as being a disability. They had a speech impediment. And you know, listen, as many listen, I was a fat little girl with glasses and braces, so I understand peer pressure, you know, and growing up. And you know, and I have to ask you, because I know for me, sometimes that fat little girl still rears her head. Sometimes that insecurity and that shyness and that all of those feelings, those emotions of that little girl come up in my adult life. Did you guys experience that? And maybe not now, I don't know, but at any time once you became an adult. Well, I mean, you said yourself, Dwayne, it was awkward. It was hard being socialized. But do you ever see it come back up? All of those feelings of anxiety and insecurity.
Yeah, all the time. It always comes up. So that's why I'm in a constant state of progressing. I can say since I started my career in nursing, that was the stepping stone to me getting over that, because in nursing you're forced to be social. You have to deal with patients. You have to deal with people. You have to deal with colleagues. So that was my stepping stone and pathway to deal with this problem. So it's a continuous. And I'm still doing it now. I'm still continuing to progress. I think I'm at a peak at this moment because I have to talk to students. I have to talk to teachers. I have to do presentations. So I have no choice but to overcome it. But it's a constant battle. It's sometimes in the back of my mind, but knowing what I know, getting more support and love from people and seeing what I accomplished because of it motivates me to continue to be better.
Yeah. Tell us about those. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, moving forward. As a matter of fact, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back with Dwight and Dwayne Allen, we're going to talk about how they overcame the stigma and the insecurity and all of the things that they had to deal with and to become two count them, 2 successful medical professionals coming right back when we join you again on Faith Friday. It's Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor, and we're talking to twins Dwayne and Dwight Allen. We'll be right back.
Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic, and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by SCDHEC. Visit scdhec.gov for an updated list of testing and vaccination sites and info to help protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. In it together, SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council.
On the pandemic and information
Wednesday, every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Visit columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, visit Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. The Comet Bus System, a fast, fun, friendly transit system that can take you anywhere you want to go in the Midlands.
Updates on the pandemic
don't miss
and
your
information.
shot. Catch the Comet and get a free ride to get your COVID vaccine. Visit catchthecomet.gov. Javis Tax Services, South Carolina's premier full-service financial provider with over 20 years of experience. Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. And Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Call
COVID
Daniel for
updates on the
honest,
pandemic.
professional, reliable, and
You're watching Coping with
knowledgeable
COVID
computer
updates
sales
on the
and
pandemic.
service. Coping with COVID from SCDHEC. In it together, the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Comet Bus System, Palmetto Media Connections, Javis Financial Services, and Computers Unique.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
MUSC presents the 2021 SC Virtual Black Expo, Saturday, April 24th. Virtual guest speakers include hip-hop mogul Master P, gospel group sensation The Clark Sisters, financial educator Marcus Benjamin, celebrity stylist Sergio Hudson, and singer-songwriter Raheem Devon. Participate in a fitness session with Coach Nadia, a Jack Daniels cooking demo with Chef Monica, and a panel discussion with Black Food Friday creator KJ Kearney. For exhibitor booths and more information, visit our website.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday lives, but when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
The Comet gives me a reliable source of transportation.
It's very convenient to me, and they have wonderful drivers.
It's clean, and it builds community. It's fun to meet people.
It makes me feel like really independent. It's just fun.
It's always going to be there and gets me everywhere I need to go.
We try to ride every single day. Comedy is our livelihood.
Need health insurance? Call Javis at 803-419-1001. Javis can get you health insurance premiums as low as $0, plus other low-cost and affordable options. 803-419-1001. Let Javis help you file your taxes. And if you need it, get a cash advance from $500 to $6,000. Javis Tax Services, 803-419-1001. JavisTax.com.
Hi, I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Because of the COVID-19 virus, we have had to learn new ways to be together. We've had to find new ways to communicate. We have to find new ways to play. And we have to find new ways to keep each other safe. For myself and my family, I'm going to take the COVID-19 vaccine. To learn more about the vaccine, go to cdc.gov. Let's do this together.
Thank you so much for joining us for Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. We'll be right back with more of my conversation with Dwight and Dwayne Allyene, the brothers who overcame what was said to them was a disability and a speech impediment to become two successful prominent men in the medical profession. I want to shout out a couple of people that are watching, and thank you so much for doing that. Julia Dozer Brockington says, awesome men. Yes, they are. Cedric Blaine Span, thank you so much for watching in the coastal area. He says, thank you again for another Coping with COVID Faith Friday, powerful program. These brothers have powerful testimonies, very encouraging. Thank you so much for thanking me for everything that we do here on Coping with COVID. Deborah Williams says, both these men are remarkable, but this is so interesting. Deborah, I agree with you. There needs to be accountability within the school system. What happens to those students who don't have a support system, who don't have the resilience? Thank you for sharing your stories, Deborah. That's such a great point there. Kay Span Band said, love the show. These men are remarkable, and they certainly are. One last one I want to mention that Annette Bulin Aileen says, mom is listening. They began with the twin language. She says she wished she had recorded how they communicated with each other in their language. I want to thank you, Mitchell Peace Joy Jen, for introducing me to the Allyene brothers, and I'm so glad that we were able to share their story. I do want to remind you that coming up on Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday, In It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday. It's Minority Health Month, and we'll talk to a panel to talk about that. And then Fun Day Monday with national comedian George Wallace is going to join us, featuring one of my favorite comedians from Charlotte, D.S. Sanders, and Virtual Black Expo guest speaker Marcus Benjamin. They're going to join us this Monday at 2 p.m. right here on Coping with COVID. Coming up right now, though, more of my conversation with Dwight and Dwayne. How to survive COVID-19. It's Faith Friday, time for inspiration, motivation, and encouragement. And today we're talking to twins Dwayne and Dwight Allen about how they overcame a speech impediment, them creating their own language, and all of the insecurities and stigmas that they overcame to become two successful medical professionals now. Dwight, tell me about how you were able to navigate from being insecure and teased and ridiculed to becoming a medical professional. How were you able to navigate that, like Dwayne was saying?
So it was very challenging to do it. I think I had to find what motivated me the most, and how to block out, what people's opinions about me, and just and obviously just having faith
and that's
in God.
so important, but it's so hard to do.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to do.
We want to be accepted. We want to be liked,
Yeah. And it's part of it was I had the ability through my grades to show that I can do it. So that will help motivate me. I think as I got older, there was a lot of teachers that believed in me as far as academically that I would get far. So that helped motivate me. And then I had learned willpower from my sister, just knowing that I can achieve things. So and using that willpower and just the ability to face fears, even though every time I face them, I still have the social anxiety. I know that I have to face them to move forward. I can't just stand still. So.
Yeah, that fear thing is such a real thing. I mean, I'm listening to both of you say it, and we're all three adults talking about how we have still today, have to face those things. And I love that you both say, but you just push through it, because you know yourself more than you're afraid. You're stronger than you are weak. You know what I mean? You're more confident than you are unconfident, and so let's talk about the academics, because both of you did end up excelling in school. Do you think it was, you felt like I've got to prove it to people that I'm not what you think I am? Because people probably thought, okay, they have a speech impediment, they're probably not smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like I said, we didn't mention in the beginning that we were about to be placed in we actually were placed in the remedial program, and we thought we did not belong. We understood the kids have certain problems which I identify with now, such as autism, and we felt that we did not belong. So my mother, against the advice of the counselor, to pull us out the program, and I'm glad she did, because he would have held us our progress. So as far as academia, I don't think we did it to prove ourselves. I think we were just motivated. I think our biggest motivation was our sister, because she was a valedictorian and she was highly intelligent. So she would push us. And if we had like a 85, we got punished. We lost all our toys and stuff. Wow. So she wouldn't accept anything less than greatness from us. So she was our primary motivator. We looked up to her because, like, for instance, she took French, we took French. She played the viola, I played the viola. So we kind of looked up to her, and she was our motivator to excel in academics. And so we just kind of naturally did that.
So you guys told your mom, they're putting us in this remedial class. We don't think we belong here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Was that because we knew we were, different from the kids in that program. We didn't feel that we were the same way. So I'm glad our mom felt that way as well, and persisted
and supported you.
Supported us in that.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I think, and I don't want to make this a black-white issue, but I do think as people of color, we are discriminated against. We're put in a box. This child is A, B, C, D, so we're just gonna put them in this category and kick them to the curb, so to speak. And listen, like you said, there are some kids that may need that, but every child with a speech impediment, every child from a questionable background, every child with a behavioral problem, you know what I mean? It's not that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did they ever give you guys a IQ test?
So I can't recall that. I just remember that we were in the class and the kids were screaming and jumping all over the wall, banging their heads, throwing stuff, and we were just sitting there like, what's going on? And you could tell they had some cognitive issues, and we were like completely aware of the situation. The way we perceived stuff was different from them. So we realized we don't belong here. We just cried, went home one day and cried, said, "Mommy, take us out of the class, please. We can't." And we were on the short bus.
Yeah, you were on the short bus.
Yeah, we were on the short bus. I think it was early. It was early in first, second grade. Yeah, because I remember the kids that we were in the class with, they would be sitting at a special table. So I remember those kids, that was the class we were with, and they were always had behavioral issues and screaming and running around. And that was the class we were in with. Then next we were sitting I would sit at a table with gifted and talented, because I was placed in the gifted and talented classes because of my grades. Yeah.
Wow. So what was the timeline between you guys being on the short bus, from your words, to being put in gifted and talented? And one administrator had to have egg on their face, like, I guess that was the wrong decision.
I think it was towards junior high and high school. Dwight can correct me. I know definitively I was in AP honors classes in high school. I remember that. I was placed in a math class by accident, because I wasn't supposed to be in the AP math class, but they kept me in to see how I do. And I remember specifically the teacher was trying to kick me out and make sure she didn't want me in the class for some reason. I'm not going to specify why, but she definitely was targeting me and did not want me. She was happy when I got failed a grade. He said, next time you get another failing grade, I'm going to kick you out. I'm so excited to get you out of the class. Wow. So that's one of the times where I actually showed improved, and I actually scored the highest on the final. We have these in New York, they have this thing called Regents exams.
Right.
And I scored one of the highest scores in the class. And she looked at me and couldn't say anything. But that's when I had to show and prove that, okay.
Right. So you guys did grow up in New York. That's something we didn't talk about. What school did you go to?
Yes, yeah, we went to a school in Long Island, Suffolk County, called Deer Park High School.
Mm-hmm.
So we grew up on a little suburban town called Deer Park.
How were you able to navigate girls? I mean, because at some point, boys like girls for the most part.
I was very shy. I think I did try to talk to a couple of girls in high school, but any signs of rejection, I just kind of gave up, pulled back. So we were very shy. So I was, and I lacked a lot of self-confidence. So you have to have some type of self-confidence.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to talk to a girl, even accept rejection. So.
Well, obviously, both of you overcame that because both of you are married. So, so something happened either with the woman or with y'all. I don't know. But we're talking to our twins, Dwayne and Dwight Allen. They're telling us of their story of overcoming obstacles, challenges in their lives to becoming two successful professionals in the medical field. And so you're excelling it. So you go from being put in a special needs class, riding the short bus, to excelling in junior high school and high school. What made you guys want to go into medicine?
Well, I personally was always fascinated with biology. So I always liked anything with science or cells and stuff. So I originally wanted to go. I went to Michigan State University with the original intent to go to med school. And this is kind of brings the story of taking a step back to move forward. So I originally wanted to go to medical school. I have a degree in physiology from Michigan State University. I tried to apply, but since part of my shyness, I didn't interact with a lot of people. You're supposed to interact with professors. They would guide you along the way. I didn't do that. And I took the MCAT, which is a test to get into med schools, at least 3 or 4 times. I even took special programs, and I wasn't satisfied with my score. So so I took a step back and said, you know what, I need to go back home and probably go to grad school or find something to do so I can still go back to medical school. But I found that wasn't feasible, because if I even took the step, which would have been to go to graduate school and get my grades up high enough to get accepted, I still wouldn't have a job or a license or be certified in anything. So I took a step back, became a home health aide. When I moved back after I graduated Michigan State, became a home health aide, eventually became a licensed nurse. My mother tried to convince me to be a nurse. Initially, I didn't want to do it. I was determined, I'm not going to be a nurse. I want to be a doctor. So I took a step back, became a licensed practical nurse. And then as I went through the profession, I saw the benefits of it. So I continued to move up. So I became a registered nurse, was in the Air Force. After I got out of the Air Force, I worked in the ICU, then went to a nurse practitioner school to get a master's. So I became an acute care nurse practitioner. And after 10 years, I obtained my doctorate, and here I am now. So,
yeah, congratulations. Dwight, before I get to your journey, Dwayne, how did the military help?
Well, it helped a lot, because I was put in awkward positions where you had to be a leader. One story I can remember is they have us. We don't have a official boot camp since I went in as an officer, so we get a little bit of cushion. But we had to do physical training, and we were able to set it up ourselves. But they assign you certain positions. So I don't remember the specific position. I was the flight leader, but there was a slightly higher position called wing leader, held by another nurse. She had a emergency going on with her child, so she had to leave. So while in the middle of standing in front of the squadron, they told me, you take charge. You're replacing her immediately. So I had to think of an exercise program right off the top of my head to lead the whole squadron in the exercise program. And since then, I also had to formulate activities for them to keep up with their physical therapy, come up with ideas to help them study for their exams. We had to do exams weekly. So I created all this stuff. And from the fact of the appreciation of people, because they said, at the time I was Lieutenant Allyene. They said, Lieutenant Allyene did all this stuff for us and we love it. And so I started thinking to myself, maybe I am good at something. Maybe I can contribute to society in some way. So those kind of things boosted my confidence and helped me progress from my social awkwardness.
Well, listen, I have to say this. You guys, so it's your last, I've been calling you Alan. No, you telling me your last name is Allyene?
Allyene, that's fine.
And neither one of y'all, in the whole time we've been talking, the whole time, not only today, but the several weeks we've been talking, you guys have not said Tre. It's not Alan. It's Allyene.
There's both. People say our name different ways, so we're used to
you
it.
You need to start telling people how to pronounce your name. Y'all, come on. That is so interesting because that just says so much about what's still going on a little bit. You know what I'm saying? That you wouldn't say, if I was talking to somebody for a month and they kept calling me Tre, I would say it's Tre. I would just say it's Tre. Even though my fat little girl is inside saying, don't say anything, I would just say it's Tre. Dwight, so who decided they were going to medical school first?
Dre was going to medical school. I'm in the animal health field.
Well, it's still medical. It's medical.
Yeah. So
don't you go to medical school to be a vet?
Yes. Okay. So I think we both at the same time, before we went to college, decided that we were going to pursue a medical degree. So I think it was definitely simultaneously for that reason. So
right. So what did you have to overcome? What did you have to overcome from everything that you went through to go to medical school, to veterinary school?
So the main thing is just people not believing in me specifically, and that was outside of the speech impediment, because when I went to the medical school, my grades were borderline for vet school. I got rejected the first time I went to vet school, and I approached counselors, and they had different ideas of how I should get accepted, and I didn't agree with them. So the options they were talking about was getting a higher degree, like a master's, or get your postdoc. I wanted to get my veterinary technician license, which is probably equivalent to a registered nurse in the human field. They said they didn't work, but I decided to go ahead and do that. So I went to veterinary technician school, and since I had a background from my bachelor's degree, I did really, really well in my veterinary technician school. I graduated with high honors, and from that, I got accepted like 4 years later after being rejected by every school I applied to. I actually got calls from the dean of one school that wanted me to go to their school, and they offered me a scholarship, and then I got accepted to a school that's very difficult to get into, and that was a stark contrast of what happened before. So that was, and even with people saying, "Oh, you have to do better than that. You can't go do this path. This path's not going to work." But I kind of created my own path because of what I had a strong desire and wanted it so badly, and because of that, I was so focused, and I was able to do well in that school, and also on my graduate exams that I scored pretty high, and that looked very favorable on my application the second time. So I was able to overcome the negativity. I had to, mute the noise of, no, you can't do that because you're not there. And I said, I feel like I'm there. I'm confident enough. So that was a interesting journey to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Dwight and Dwayne, Allyene joining us today on Coping with COVID. It's Faith Friday, and they're sharing with us their story of perseverance and resilience, going from remedial classes because of a speech impediment as kids to both being accomplished professionals in the medical field. What would you say to anyone? I mean, because, we talked about kids are cruel, and, we see a lot of bullying in school. What do you say to the younger you about dealing with this type of thing?
I would say exactly what I'm doing now, because I mentor young people now, and I give them my story. Because I have a lot, especially working with students. So I tell them, don't let any hangups or any setbacks hold you back, because your setback can be your can be a setup or your step forward. So long as you be persistent and stay focused, it's okay to take a step back. Sometimes the path that you set forward is not always going to be perfect. The journey will get a detour, but as long as you get to your destination, all that matters. So keep pushing. Keep pushing. Don't let people tell you anything negative. You know your own strengths. Make sure you gain a good support system. Be around those that support you. You don't have to rush. It doesn't have to happen immediately. It doesn't have to happen at a specific timeline. Just do what you can and keep pushing. That's how I tell my young self, because that's exactly what I've been doing.
What about you, Dwight? Is faith a part of this story at all for you guys?
Yes. Yeah, faith is definitely a part of the story, because it's known that God created you to be special. And though, mankind can be are not perfect, God can get you through these things through just trusting in Him. And part of what I would tell my younger self is that, people are always going to doubt you. People are always going to say negative things. Some of it could be jealousy. Sometimes it's lack of knowledge. But you have to ultimately believe in yourself and trust in God to get through these things, and that will help you. You can't look to please anybody else or try to fit someone's mold, but sometimes that's not you have to the mold that you have to fit is that you're confident and have faith in yourself and faith in God that things will work out, and then things don't always work out the way you have planned, but if you persevere and you're focused and you're serious about it, all things will come into play. So
right. Tell us about what you're doing now, Dwayne, and then I'll come back to you, Dwight.
Oh, wow. So since I became I'm a clinical assistant professor at the University of South Carolina. And like I mentioned before, this is the pinnacle of me breaking all the social awkwardness, taking away from all the hindrances that my past life has kept me back. So now I've been speaking on multiple platforms, especially for the African American community, because I'm passionate about diversity, equality, and inclusion. So I've been on I'm actually on multiple committees for that. I talked about COVID for the African American community. I talked about Alzheimer's. I'm supposed to be talking about increasing minority retention in the nursing school, and I'll be doing that on the 15th of next month. And also, I'm the executive director and co-founder of a nurse practitioner group where we meet with over 200 nurse practitioners. I just got put on the board of DNPs of Color, which is a national organization that helps promote excellence in nursing, especially for minorities. We're also involved in mentoring as well. So I've been doing a lot, and I actually had to say no to a lot of opportunities. But now I have no problem speaking. Someone will ask me, "Do you want to speak?" Sure, I'll speak. I'll leave stuff off. I'll show people how to do stuff. So, and I always tell people that say I'm shy, I'm introverted. I said, no, you need to break that, because I was the same way. It's going to hinder you. So since I broke the chains of being shy, I've been noticing people have been flocking to me. If you go on my LinkedIn page, people always tell me I inspire them and they're motivated by me. They people, I've been talking to strangers just off of LinkedIn, just to encourage them. I actually spoke to someone with a speech impediment and gave them some encouraging words as well. So a lot of people have been reaching out to me and say, you're my mentor. So to hear that is really fascinating, because I never in my dreams thought that I'll be in this position. But it's all because I broke this plane and did not let this speech impediment hold me back anymore. And I still have improvement, but I'm motivated and ready to do stuff and continue to encourage others. My main focus is to encourage others instead of uplifting myself. And that's been a pretty much a mantra of mine.
Yeah, yeah. Dwight, tell us what you're doing. I know you're a veterinarian.
Yes, I'm a veterinarian. I've been a veterinarian about 15 years. Currently, I'm a medical director at a veterinary clinic that has a combination of a grooming and a veterinary clinic as a startup. So I've been recently been doing that. Also involved with online consulting, and also just I've been involved with encouraging minority students who are just finishing up their veterinary school. I've been having dialogue with them, giving them advice. Also looking to possibly pursuing my master's in public health. So just because I have an interest in epidemiology and disease surveillance, so that's something I want to pursue and look to see if it could be a possible career as I get older. Probably in the next 4 or 5 years. That's something I would want to look into, and I think that will give me a lot of opportunities to teach or get involved with, just helping the community or just in public health in general. So that's where I am right now.
Right. Maybe you could cure COVID in dogs and cats.
Yes, probably.
So interestingly enough, what some may look at, so some may view as, again, as an impediment because of your speech, because of your shyness, because of the bullying, because of your social awkwardness. God designed that for you all to push through and come through it so that you can end up encouraging and uplifting others.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that how amazing our God is?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very amazing.
Yes,
yeah, because he can use our brokenness. He can use those things in our lives to not only uplift us, but for us to uplift others too.
Yeah, and we're coming on a year of when we lost our father. So this was a trying time of when because I was trying to finish up my doctorate, and people told me to stop and give up. I said, no, I'm not going to give up, because my father would have wanted me to do it. And I lost my sister the year before, and she made me promise her not to give up. So my trust and faith in God helped me get through these difficult years. The last 2 years were very difficult, trying to finish school, work full time, deal with students. So I use that as a point of reference. Say, well, God got me through this. I need to use my talents to uplift others. Since God blessed me, I need to bless others instead of trying to look for more blessings to just kind of keep to myself. So
yeah. Well, God is the foundation. I could hear it and tell. And I do want to ask, though, before we go, is when did you grew up in a church setting? How were you able to link your relationship with Christ or grow your relationship with Christ in correlation to what you were going through?
Well, me, basic tenets of my faith as a Christian is, one of the things is your attitude. So your attitude towards things and having faith, because I always have comfort that Jesus Christ is with me at all times. So if God is with you, who can be against you? So that as long as I have that comfort, and I always, even despite facing challenges, I always say to myself, I know I'm going to be fine. It's just going to be a rough patch. But I'm going to come out and see the sunshine, and that's why I use my faith has grown stronger, especially when I started losing loved ones and continue to persist. Long as I put people first and put God first and put myself last, I've always been blessed. So I always follow that and have patience and know that everything is going to be okay, regardless if it's a painful path. Just focus on the destination. So especially when you live a Christ-centered life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And because I know it's hard sometimes for people who are believers to go through things and continue to have that faith. You know, they sometimes question God. So Dwayne, Allyene, and Dwight, Allyene, thank you guys so much for joining us. This has just been such an amazing story of how you all have gone through so much and overcome it. And like I said, not only overcome it, but excelled and continue to pour in to others. I mean, it's the perfect story of, you know, how God, again, like I said, how God gives us things for us to become stronger, because all of this made you stronger. It made you stronger, wiser. It made you much more resilient. It gave you the encouragement and the motivation to push through, to excel the way that you have. And then, like I said, for both of you to be at the top of your fields and encouraging others, that means everything. For more information about Dwayne and Dwight, Allyene, the information is on the screen. They didn't say this, I'm saying this. I'm sure they'd be glad to talk to you and encourage you and motivate you and speak to your youth group or organization. When we come back, we are going to do our spiritual reading for the afternoon. But of course, if you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please go to the Tailor Made production page on Facebook, inbox me, and we would love to feature your story or initiative. If you have a product or initiative or story that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com. The information is on the screen, and we'd love for you to be a proud sponsor of Coping with COVID, just like SCDHEC, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Call Daniel for confident and fast and reliable computer services. Also, Javis Tax Services, 20 years of providing expert financial services to folks in South Carolina. We're also sponsored by the Comet Bus System. Catch the Comet to get your vaccine for free. And of course, Palmetto Media Connections and Agape Counseling and Training Center. I'm going to leave you, as always, with a spiritual reading. Would either of you, and I didn't ask you this at first, would either of you share with us either a prayer or something spiritual that you would like to leave us with? I know I'm putting you on blast.
Right. Dwight, well, you are used to it, but I do. Dwight, I'll leave it to. I'll push it to Dwight. If he doesn't want to do it, I'll do it.
Dwight.
So I'll say a spiritual prayer.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just coming to you knowing that you have created us to be beautiful human beings and created the spirit within us and the courage within us. Just ask that you be with us, that we can continue to have faith in you and stay faithful and overcome fears, knowing that you are with us, you are our shepherd, and we can search for you through the darkest times and the lowest lows, that you will carry us through. Just ask that those who are able to listen to the podcast and are feeling down and discouraged, that they may be encouraged by our stories, and then they may be inspired to, and also be inspired not just by our stories themselves, but inspired to help inspire others as they overcome this. We just thank you for this avenue to reach out to others, and may it be a blessing to many. In Christ's name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Dwight, Dwayne, Allyene. We appreciate your story, and thank you so much for joining us on Coping with COVID.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm Tre Tailor. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Stay safe, be careful, get your vaccine, and don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. See you guys.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Brought to you by SCDHEC. Visit scdhec.gov for testing and vaccination sites. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In it together, SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every week on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Agape Counseling and Training Services. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, visit Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. The Comet Bus System, offering free rides to get your COVID vaccine. Don't miss your shot. Visit catchthecomet.gov. Javis Financial Services, with over 20 years of experience. Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Honest, professional, reliable computer sales and service. Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID from SCDHEC. In it together, SC. The South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities. Agape Counseling and Training Services. The Comet Bus System. Javis Financial Services. Computers Unique and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.